Alright, welcome back to The Daily Show. I'm your host, Drew Stewart. We have a great show planned for you tonight. So, tonight we have a special guest, weighing in at an unknown weight and standing tall at an unknown height, the radical reformer, James Cannon Jr.
Thanks for the introduction, Mr. Stewart. I'm here to discuss the problem facing our nation tonight, drug use. We've got a real issue with drugs in this country. Reminds me of alcohol in the early 20th century.
Yes, I understand you did a lot of work to fight alcohol abuse back then, is that correct?
I certainly did. I, along with many members of the temperance movement, did a lot of campaigning back in the early 19th century, early 20th century. We realized that the only way to fix the issue of alcohol abuse was to remove alcohol entirely, prohibit it even in America. For a time, we were able to do a lot of good for this nation.
What would compel you to do that, sir?
Alcohol abuse was a real threat to Americans everywhere back then. People don't realize this, but back in 1830, Americans consumed 1.7 bottles of hard liquor a week, which is 3 times the amount they consumed in 2010.
That is insane. That's almost as much as I consume per day. But wasn't there a huge increase in crime due to the prohibition?
Yes, Al Capone was really big back then. There was a lot of organized crime, a lot of bootlegging, moonshine, where you mix the alcohol in your bathtub. But with all this, we were able to suffer through it. And ultimately, we were better for it for a time.
But America repealed the 18th Amendment and ended prohibition in 1933. Well,
of course. That's why our country is a festering cesspool today.
don't talk about my country like that. But how do you think this applies to...
Well, thank you, Mr. Stewart. But I'd like to talk about my exciting ideas for up in America. I've noticed that we have a very bad problem with drug abuse in this country. People are shooting the heroin, smoking the ganja, they're dropping the pills, every Sunday, pretty much. And I have the solution. We need to just ban the drugs. Maybe even prohibit them.
Won't there be an increase of crime like there was during the Prohibition? I mean, we can't go through another Al Capone situation. You barely came out alive.
Someone's always going to be breaking the law, especially if there's money they can make. We just have to handle it like we do any other crime. And if there's an increase in it, we can sort it out. We're America.
That's the kind of idea we need to improve this country.
You see, the real problem is that people have access to these drugs at all. They end up overdosing, going to the hospital because they're overdosing, and then costing the taxpayers money. Their hard-earned money. If we just got rid of the drugs, there'd be no way for them to overdose. They would be incapable of having this problem. It's really quite simple.
But I mean, come on, do you think Congress is going to approve this measure?
How could they not? As soon as we ban every last drug, we'll never have this sort of issue ever again. This is the only surefire solution. This is what our country needs. Remember my slogan, drugs are whack, so watch your back.
Well, thanks for your input, James. I might keep that in mind. Remember, kids, put down those Doritos Locos Tacos.
Thanks for having me, Stu.